Happy New Year to each and everyone. If one student could able to write all the subjects, then why can't a one teacher teach all the subjects? Let us see. So this entire universe is made up of atoms. So atoms are consists. So when atoms are combined, they form molecules. So molecules. When molecules are combined, the matter is formed or the substance. If you take a substance and start dividing each one, so you can reach the molecules. That means we can divide them into molecules. Substance can be divided into molecules. When we take a molecule and divide it further, that means break down further, it can reach up to atom. That means we can divide them into atoms. But an atom cannot be divisible. That means an atom is a particle of undivisible. Undivisible. So atoms are undivisible things. So what is inside the atom? So atom, mass of the atom is completely concentrated at the center. So mass of the atom is completely concentrated at the center of the atom. So this center of the atom is called as nucleus. This center of the atom is called as nucleus. In this nucleus, there are two particles. The major particles are proton and neutron. So proton possesses positive charge. So proton possesses positive charge. So it's easy to remember proton possesses positive charge. P for proton and P for positive charge. So as the name suggests, so neutron is has neutral thing. That means it has no charge. That means neutron doesn't have any charge. So the electrons are revolving around this nucleus. This electron consists as negative charge. So this electron is negative charge. So the particle inside the atoms are majorly three we have discussed so far. That is, one is the proton, which has positive charge, and electron, which has negative charge, and neutron doesn't have any charge. That means no charge. So this electron revolves around the nucleus in a fixed orbits. They revolve around the nucleus in the fixed orbits. So these are the electrons which revolve around the nucleus. Depends on the number of protons and number of electrons, we differentiate them and make them as elements. The entire Earth is made up of different elements. These elements are ordered with the after many theories and after many trends. These elements are ordered depends on the atomic number. This atomic number denoted by Z. So 1, 2, 3, 4 like this. That means the element name is hydrogen. The first element name is hydrogen. It consists only one proton. That means one electron is revolving around the nucleus. That is, and the symbol of hydrogen is H. The symbol of hydrogen is capital H. So another element is helium. The second element, according to the atomic number, according to the new modern periodic table, the second element is helium. This helium symbol is He. So while writing these symbols, we have to take care. That means care has to be taken while writing these numbers. For example, this is CO and this is also CO. But while writing the first element, while writing the symbol of the element, the first letter should be capital and the second letter should be small. This is cobalt, this is carbon monoxide. So if you write same things, that means carbon and this is O as capital, it becomes carbon monoxide. So the care has to be taken. So this is carbon monoxide. When it has two atoms of oxygen, then it is called, when there are two atoms, it is called as di. So it is carbon dioxide. This is carbon monoxide and this is carbon dioxide. So this is cobalt, this is carbon monoxide. So that we have to take the care about here. And if you say there are elements, there are order: hydrogen, helium, lithium, beryllium, boron, this is the order we can go. And if someone has stopped you and asks you start from 21, you should able to say from 21. 21 is scandium. Scandium from this one. When the person asks you in the middle of the periodic table and pointing from there, you have to start it. That's it. So for example, if he asks you what is 17, what is the atomic number 17, and what is the element name, when the 17 is called chlorine, the symbol is Cl, chlorine. If he asks you what is the atomic number of chlorine, we could able to say 17. And if he asks us to say or to start from the scandium, we should able to say scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, iron, cobalt, nickel, copper, zinc. So that you have to flow. The flow should be there. The flow should be there. So that means we could able to say the periodic table and period numbers and everything we can manage, and we can able to memorize each and everything. There are many methods to memorize all the concepts. So this is how they form. When the electrons are moving like this in the around the nucleus, these electrons are revolving around the nucleus, as we said, but there are different states. That means this is one orbit, this is another orbit, this is third orbit. Like this, there are many states. As we have a lot of energy, when we have a lot of energy, we generally what we do, we can dance, we can play, we can jump, we can run, whatever we do. We when we are at the excitement, we go to the excited states in our mind, so that we could able to jump and everything we can do. So similarly, when these electrons possess high energy, each and every orbit possesses a certain energy. So these orbits also called energy levels. When this electron possesses high energy, that means they excite. When they excite, they go to the excited state. So this state is called excited state. Similarly, when we play, jump, and do many activities, after doing many activities, we lose energy. So similarly, after going to this state, we lose energy. If the energy is very lost, so we may sit in a chair. That means similarly, the electron may come to the another state, the lower state, and if the energy is completely lost, we may lie on the ground. Similarly, this electron, if it entirely loses the energy, it comes to this original state of being. The original state, original orbit is called the ground state. So this is called the ground state. So this is called the excited state, and this is called the ground state. Similarly, we also do these things. In order to that, for example, these are revolving in a fixed orbits, as I said. So fixed orbit means as the sun is here and the planets are revolving around the sun. Similarly, that means there is a planetary model which is suggesting that electrons are revolving around the nucleus as the planets are revolving around the sun. So from let us come to the social ones. Let us touch the social from chemistry. So this is the sun, for example, Mercury, Venus, and Earth, etc. So Mercury, Venus, Earth is revolving around the sun. So third planet is from the order. Our Earth is the third planet here. So let me zoom it. Hmm. This is called the equator. When we write an equator, that means when the sun rays are directly falling on the equator, there is a much heat. Let us go to the physics next after completing this social. Let me clarify. So this is the equator. This equator means equal. This is equally dividing the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere. This equator is dividing the earth. That means these are the imaginary lines. These are not on the ground, are not on the earth. These are the imaginary lines drawn on the globe. So globe is a model of the earth. So we have drawn these imaginary lines on the globe. So these lines are called latitudes. So these lines are called latitudes. So this is called 0 degree latitude. This is called, the equator is called 0 degree latitude. From there, we divide each and everything into degrees: 0 degree, 1 degree, 2 degree, and these degrees are subdivided into minutes. Subdivided into minutes. So, in the northern hemisphere, as I said, the equator is dividing the earth into two hemispheres, the northern and southern hemispheres. In the northern hemisphere, we have a beautiful and blue. This planet is called, also called as blue planet, and this beautiful country is called our country and India. Let us come to India just once. In this continent, that means Asian continent. It is in the world, in the earth, is subdivided into continents. In the continent, Asian continent, we have a beautiful country called India. In this Indian country is also called as subcontinents. As this country possesses the characteristics of the continent, we call it as subcontinent. Okay, for example, let us consider this as the India. It has many beautiful relief features. Our India possesses many beautiful relief features. For example, from here in the north side of this India, we have a stretch of mountain ranges. This is a stretch of mountain ranges about 2,400 kilometers. About 2,400 kilometers, we have a mountain range. That mountain range is called Himalayas. So Himalayas are located on the north of the India. And if you just come go down just a little bit, here there is a Thar desert. The desert called Thar. So this is another really feature of India. Mountains, Himalayas are another one really feature, and Thar desert is another really feature. From here, if you go down, this on the west side there are Ghats. That means mountain ranges. Those Ghats are called Western Ghats as they're located towards the west. And this side, Eastern Ghats. So these Ghats are located towards the east of the India, so these are called the Eastern Ghats. So this is how Indian relief features we can discuss more. And this India continent is also called as peninsular. What is meant by peninsular? If the landmass is covered, three sides of the landmass is covered by water, it is called peninsular. Similarly, if all the sides, that means all the four sides of the land mass is covered, that is called an island. So we have islands as well. We have islands. So here in Bay of Bengal, we have Andaman Nicobar Islands, and in Arabian Sea, we have Lakshadweep Islands. So our country is rich in many things. We have a lot of languages. We have that means we call it as unity in diversity. We have a rich continent of languages, cultures, traditions. We have along with all those things, we have rich resources of many things like species and everything. These attracted other persons, that means other countries, European countries, towards us, and they started business, they started doing trade with our India. After that, they started exploiting, so they started exploiting our country. These things resulted to get the struggle of independence. Our struggle of independence has started because of this continuous exploitation. Similarly, if there are two persons, generally there are many reasons they fought between. Fighting can happen between two persons, right? If there are two persons, generally they fight each other. There are many reasons to fight for the fight. There are many causes, there are many reasons. So similarly, so if this is one country and this is another country, let us assume that. So if one country is fighting with another country, there would be many reasons. Either it because of the resources, or it because of the power, or it's because of the traditions, or it because of the nationalism or over nationalism. Many things. There are many reasons. Even even one action or one thing can immediately provocate the war between the two countries. Let us consider this is one country, this is another country. If one person is involved with fighting each other, let us consider a friend of yours is fighting with another person. How what you do? You go and start helping this guy, right? So similarly, the friends help each other. So this side becomes a one group, one party, and the other side also, the friends of this guy becomes a group, and they also fight against this. Even though there is no direct dispute between the other party, these friends are helping this guy. So similar, the same thing happened in the world. That is on 28th June 1914. On this date, a Serbian fanatic means excessive nationalism guy. So he went to, his name is Gravilo Princip. He went and killed this Ferdinand. This guy, Serbian fanatic, killed Ferdinand along with his wife. So on the date of 28/6/1914, to remember this, what we have to do is simply 8 minus 2 is 6. So this 6 means June. So 8 plus 4, 8 plus 6, this 8 plus 6 is 14, right? So just memory techniques are simple. If you remember like this, you could able to remember for a long period of time without confusion. So this 2, 8. So 8 minus 2 is 6, this is June. So 8 plus 6 is 14. So 1914. On this day, he killed the Ferdinand. So when a Serbian fanatic killed an Austrian guy, so this Austria immediately declared the war on Serbia. So when the Austria declared the war on Serbia, So Serbian elite powers like France, they came, they started coming and they started joining with this Serbia. Those are called, you can remember by remembering the word serf. Yes, URF, serf. So Serbia, UK, Russia, and France. These become a one power, elite power. They started the war again. So this side becomes AGI. That means Austria, Germany, and Italy. They become a group and started the again completely the fight between both the parties has happened for a period of time. Once after a certain period of time, other countries, that means many countries, started involving in these wars. So as the most of the world countries are involved, this became the world war. As it is the world war first one, so it became the world war first, world war one. This leads to this migration. So this is how the wars between them has built. So let us come to this war. They fight each other. They fight means they fired also. The fire means fire created the heat to us. So let us come to the physics once. As we also drawn here, the sun rays are directly falling onto the earth. Here heat is more. That means the rays which are coming from the sun carries the heat. That means what are they carrying? The number one is heat, number two is light. The light rays from the sun are carrying light energy and heat energy. So means heat is a form of energy. Heat is a form of energy in transit from a hotter body to the cold body. So hotter body, that means high temperature body, to high temperature body to cold temperature body. That means low temperature. We can say this as low. High temperature body to low temperature body. So heat is a form of energy that in transit that flows from high temperature body to the low temperature body. It only flows from high to low. There's only one direction, high to low. So that's it. So this is called heat. What is meant by temperature then? So we talked about temperature. What is meant by temperature? Temperature is the degree of hotness or coolness. The degree of hotness or coolness. This is the measurement of heat energy. So temperature is a measurement of heat energy. So heat is direct when the light rays are directly falling on the ground. So they create heat. And when they create heat, the more heat is absorbed here. Though this is called heat. When this portion is heated, even when we have, for example, uh, I hold this pen or marker pen in my hand. So the when these two are in contact, from high to low, we already discussed. From high temperature body to the low temperature body, always heat energy in transit. So our hand approximately at 37 degrees Celsius. So this would be low because I am feeling a little coldness when I touch it. So it is definitely low energy, low at low temperature. That means the heat is flowing from my hand to this marker until both of the temperatures reaches the same temperature. Until the both of the bodies reach the same temperature, the flow continues. The flow continues when they are in the thermal contact. What is meant by thermal? Thermal means heat. When they are in contact, the heat flows. As the heat is flowing, we call it as thermal contact. When until this heat flows to this body until it both of the bodies attain the same temperature. The same means equal temperature. When both of the bodies are equal at equal temperature, we call it as equilibrium. As they are equal, this is called equilibrium. Equilibrium. So this equilibrium is about the heat. So this is called thermal. Thermal means heat. So thermal equilibrium. These are called thermal equilibrium. Okay. Then we told the rays are providing us heat energy. At the same time, they are providing us light energy. Light means what? So light. How could we able to see? For example, how could we able to see the board? How could we able to see the hand? How could we able to see this marker in blue color and white color? So there are many differences. Light is the form of energy. When the light comes from a source, the sun is the source of heat. Sun is the source of light for us. So when from the source, when the light passes from one point and reaches the object and start reflecting, then when it reaches our eye, then it appears to us. It depends on the wavelength or frequency. The color depends on the wavelength and frequency. It appears to us. That means when a light ray, passes and strikes one object, and it reflects back. As we take a ball and hit the wall, it reflects. Similarly, when a light ray falls on an object, it started reflecting. When it started reflecting, if we are seeing it here, when it reaches our eye, then we could able to see the object. That means the reflection of the light from the object gives us the appearance of the object. So even our blue planet, we call it as blue planet. The Earth is called blue planet. Why? Because the blue light is scattered from different scattering of light and reflection of light, reflection of light. We have to consider all these things. So basic thing is, for example, reflection. If you hit the wall with a ball, if it comes back, it's called reflection. Simply, if it goes inside the wall, so inside the wall, then it is called refraction. When a thing falls on the object and it goes inside with a deviation, it is called refraction. This is called reflection, and this is called refraction. The only difference between these two is the spelling of LE and RA. The rest of the things are same. We should not be confused between those things. There are many techniques. We will discuss this later. So for the time being, I'm talking about here. So when the light ray passes, that is incidented on one object. When a light ray is incidented on one object, this is called as it is incidenting, this is called as incident ray. This is called as incident ray. So this, when it is reflected, this is called reflected ray. So always we talk about the angles here. Angle means we generally consider from the a normal. Normal means a perpendicular which is drawn to the surface. When an incident ray falls here, it reflected back here. The angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. So angle of incidence is always equal to the angle of reflection. What is meant by angle here? Let us come to mathematics now. So what is meant by angle here? The space between, or the measurement between two intersecting lines close to the intersecting point is called the angle. So this is the angle. This is the space between the two intersecting lines close to the intersecting point is called angle. So let us come to mathematics now with the type of angles. So this is the angle we discussed. For onset, angle of incidence is always equal to angle of reflection. So this is how. So this is the angle, right? Let us, theta is the angle. Let us consider if three lines are intersected at three different points. If three lines has intersected at three different points, three lines, three points, intersecting points, and three angles will be derived here. Three angles, three angles. So three angles. So it is called as triangle. So this closed figure is called as triangle. So if one of the angle is 90 degrees, if one of the angle is 90 degrees, whatever it is, so then it is called a right angle triangle. If one of the angle is 90, then it is called as right angle triangle. Right angle triangle. So based on this right angle triangle, we can form trigonometric ratios. So the ratios, the ratio of any pair of two lines, any pair of the length of the two lines, the ratio of any pair of the lengths of the two lines is called as trigonometric ratios. So what are the basic trigonometric ratios? So basic trigonometric ratios are sine, cosine, and tangent. Sine, cosine, and tangent. So here, for example, consider this theta as the angle here. So the sine of the angle theta is symbolically written as sine theta. The sine of the angle theta is symbolically written as sine theta. The cosine of the angle theta is symbolically written as cos theta. So this theta means the angle possesses the values, right? So let us do a sum based on this. For example, cos 40 divided by sin 50. Cos 40 divided by sin 50. In order to solve this problem, we need some things. That means mathematics. I said mathematics is easy when you know how. When you know how, mathematics is easy, very easy. So, how? By deciding or by knowing how we can. So, what are the things we need to know to become a good mathematician? So, for example, the first one is uh, let me write from the beginning. That means concept. If you know the concept well, this is the first aspect. And the second aspect, if you know the formula good, the second thing, that one formula, you should know the formula. After that, you should know the application of the formula or the substitution of the formula. We should know. After that, we can write it. If you know the concept, it's not enough to do the mathematics. If you know the formula, it is not also enough to do the process. If you know the formula for sub application, also not enough. So we should know the exact process here. We should know the exact process. When we know the exact process only, the mathematics is easy. Otherwise, start playing with us. Let me show you with that example. After the process, what we need to do is the calculation part. There are 5 steps process. If you know all these 5 steps, the mathematics is easy, very easy, I'm telling you. So but you should know the concept, you should know the formula, you should know the application of the formula, you should know the process, you should know the calculation. To solve this question, what are the formula is required for us means, so there is formula of sine theta is equal to cos 90 minus theta. Sin theta is equal to cos 90 minus theta. Or if you can write it in a different way also, that means cos 90 minus theta is equal to sin theta. So similarly, for example, let me put the theta here. So for example, if I substitute, you know the formula here, right? There is another formula also. That formula is cos theta is equal to sin 90 minus theta, whatever it is. For example, let me draw it. So sin theta is equal to cos 90 minus theta, cos theta is equal to sin 90 minus theta. If you substitute, you know the formula now, you know the formula, you know a little bit of concept. Now you are going to the application part of this. So application of the formula. So if you substitute the value of the theta here, that means let us consider 40. So cos 40 is equal to sin 90 minus 40. As we are substituting the value of 40, that means theta here. So 90 minus 40, sin 50 came. So this is cos 50 is equal to sin 50. You know the application, right? So if you don't know the process, let me clarify here. If you don't know the process exactly, then mathematics start playing with you. If you know the process exactly, you can play with mathematics. That again means you can play with numbers, otherwise they play with you. So what is, if you don't know the process, let us see. If you don't know the process, let me substitute 50 here, sin 50, right? So sin 50 here, cos 90 minus 50, so cos 40 this, so cos 50. Okay, so let us solve in a different way. So cos 40, when there is a cos 40, we can substitute it with sin 50, right? So I am replacing it with sin 50 divided by, where the sin 50, if you don't know the process, I am telling you, if you don't know the process, mathematics start playing with this is an example that mathematics is playing with you and mathematics is become difficult for you. So in order that you know the formula, you substituted it well, so in order that you are replacing cos 40 with sin 50, that means cos 40 here. What had happened? The same again similar question came. After that, what you do? So sin 50 means again you start converting 90 minus 50 divided by cos 90 minus 40. Similar thing. So this becomes sin 50 and this becomes, yes, sin 50 we wrote it here. So we can write cos 40 and this is sine, for example, this is sine 50 again. So we came to the original question again. So if you start converting again, you know the formula very well, right? So you converted cos 40 is equal to sin 90 minus 40. So sin 90 minus 40 divided by, again sin 50 is here. So if you convert it into sin 90 minus 50, again, so sin 50 divided by cos 40. This goes on and on and on. You feel that mathematics is difficult, but you should know the exact process of it. Even if we're confused here, as I wrote it here, similar things happen because of the mathematics. It becomes difficult when you do this kind of tricycle movements. If you don't know the process, it happens. If you know the process exactly, what is the solution to it? If you know the process exactly, the solution and the answer is easy, that means mathematics is easy. What is the process? You have to convert only one. For example, cos 40 divided by sine 50 here. So we are converting only one. Sine 50, or put it remind the denominator is same. So I am converting cos 40 into sine. So sine 90 minus 40. That means sine 50 divided by sine 50. When the numerator and denominator are same, we can divide them and the answer is 1. So this is easy. Mathematics is easy when you know the concept, formula, application of the process, a process and the calculation. If you come to the calculation part, we have the care has to be taken. We should know the V Bodmas rule, where D and A are the most important aspects. Division, multiplication, addition, and subtraction. We have to go in the manner and order only. Then only it becomes easy for us. For example, let us do another problem with this. So, cos 30 divided by sin 60. Let us solve this in a two different way. So first way, as we mentioned earlier, this can be converted into sin 90 minus 30 divided by, I am not converting the sin 60. I know the formula, I know the process right now, so I am not converting it. So sin 90 minus 30 is sin 60 and denominator is sin 60, so then both of them can cancel and answer is 1. And there is another method to do this. When we know the formula and when we know the values of it, we can substitute them. For example, the value of the cos 30 is root 3 by 2 and the sin 60 is also root 3 by 2. The value of the cos 30 is root 3 by 2 and the value of the sin 60 is also root 3 by 2. When the numerator and denominator are same, we can cancel them and the answer also same. If you don't know root 3 by 2 divided by root 3 by 2, again the calculation part starts playing with you. So we have to do, how we have to do is root by 2. So denominator gets converted and inverted. So that inversion means 3 by 2. Then we can cancel these things. So if you know the formula and if you know the calculation part, the mathematics is easy. If you don't, mathematics is difficult, completely difficult. So we have to be calculated in each and everything. Where? In everywhere. Even what we eat also we have to be calculated. Let us go to the biology once. We have to be calculated in each and every aspect of life. Even what, while we are taking the intake, also we should be very calculative. When we are calculative, we could be lead our life very easily. Otherwise, there are some differences. That means while eating, we have to calculate about the food. That means there are two types. So that means while taking micronutrients and macro and micronutrients, we have two kinds of nutrients, micro and macronutrients. If we have to take in the measurement of it. For example, what we have to take is carbohydrates, protein, protein, and fat. So what are the micronutrients we have? Carbohydrates, proteins, and fats. As the name suggests, we have to take them in large quantity, and as the name suggests, micronutrients we have to take them in a small quantity, small quantity. For example, vitamins A, B, C, D, E, K, etc. So vitamins and minerals we should take. So as the name suggests, if you don't take them, what happened? Means if you don't take them, that means sufficiency of it, that is called malnutrition. We call it as malnutrition. So when we are suffering with malnutrition, there are three kinds of malnutritions we face. Number one, protein deficiency. Number two, caloric deficiency. The energy is calculated in calorie. Whatever we eat, it convert, the energy is released, going to be released, right? That energy is calculated as in calorie. So protein and calorie nutrients. Protein and calorie malnutrition. There are three kinds of malnutrition we face: protein malnutrition, caloric malnutrition, and protein calorie malnutrition. When we take more, then this is a separate case that becomes obese. When we take too much without calculation, when we take too much, it becomes obese. We become obese people. Okay, then even though for example, for malnutrition things, kwashiorkor, marasmus, other diseases or deficiency disorders we face when we don't take, or when we don't calculate exactly, and when the intake is low. These are the malnutritions. When the intake is very high, we get obesity. So here we have to take more carbohydrates, more proteins, and more fat. Fat is also necessary for our body. Only certain vitamins dissolves in the fat only. So fat is also necessary for us. So we have to take them in larger quantity. How we take all these things? Through mouth, right? There is a pathway of food. For example, if we take a food and put it in our mouth and start chewing, the salivary glands in our mouth secretes the saliva. That saliva mixes with the food and the digestion process starts from here itself. So because of that reason, we have to chew as many times as we can. So after chewing, and that means breaking down. I always again go into chemistry, molecules and cartons. So breaking down, we are breaking down the large amount of food into small particles. There in the buccal cavity, we are facing it. So that means we take the food into our mouth, and it's happened at the buccal cavity. From the buccal cavity, it goes to the pharynx. Where the pharynx, in the inside the pharynx, we have epiglottis. That means there is a food pipe and windpipe. There are two pipes here: food pipe and windpipe. There is a gatekeeper that is called epiglottis. This epiglottis acts as a gatekeeper and diverts and the food into the food pipe. The food into food pipe only. So here in the epiglottis, pharynx. Here esophagus is there. Esophagus or esophagus. In the esophagus, the movement of the food is called as peristaltic movement. As it moves as a wave motion, this is called a peristaltic movement. It won't go straight. If the food is like this, it has depends on the elasticity. It becomes like, if the food comes here, this happened. This is like the wave motion. It goes. That motion is called a peristaltic movement. After reaching the stomach, here the stomach is there. So in the stomach, juices like for enzymes and juices like, for example, hydrochloric acid releases into the stomach, and many other enzymes releases into the stomach. There the digestion process happens. Even in the stomach also, we have pyloric stomach and cardiac stomach. There are two kinds of stomachs: pyloric stomach and cardiac stomach. So after the stomach, it reaches the duodenum. It reaches to the part called duodenum, a small portion called duodenum, where it connects the stomach and the small intestine. Duodenum is the portion where it connects the small intestine and the stomach. So from to this duodenum, from pancreatic juices releases to this duodenum, and bile juices from the liver into this duodenum. Pancreatic juices and bile juices from the liver are secretes into the part called duodenum, where they mix with the substance. From there, it went into small intestine. From here, the villi. So villi or villi, there are finger-like projections. They start absorbing the materials. If they are like this, if the path is like this, the surface area is same. But if the projections are like this, the surface area has increased from this one like this, and the surface area of the absorpting portion is increased, so that villi are most important for the absorption rate. So these absorb the nutrients into the blood directly to the bloodstream. So these absorption happen in the small intestine. After the small intestine reaches to the large intestine. So in the large intestine, generally water is absorbed. The more water is absorbed in the large intestine, from there it's stored in the rectum. From there, when the defecation process is going to happen, it comes out from the anus. That means food, mouth, vocal cavity, pharynx. From the pharynx, esophagus to the stomach. There are two types of stomachs: cardiac stomach and pyloric stomach. From the stomach to the duodenum, where at the duodenum the pancreatic juices and bile juices from the liver mix together, and to the small intestine. From the small intestine to the large intestine to the rectum. There's a portion. It considered as a storage tank. So from there it comes out to the anus. From mouth to the anus, this is the pathway of the food. We should remember each and everything from here to here. In the 10th class syllabus, it is completely mentioned. So if we don't take the ingredients rightly, we face the malnutrition. If you take any one, for example, if you take more carbohydrates or more fat, then we can become obese. This is about the biology concepts in 10th class subjects, 10th class syllabus, according to the 10th class syllabus. And from here, we can touch how we are going to chemistry again. Let me touch. For example, how we are taking, how this is all generated, all the food is manufactured where? Not only the factories, right? So we also manufacture the foods, but they are called synthetic and artificial things. But the nature is creating us the food in a natural way. That is organic food. So, for example, let us consider this is a plant. Let us consider this is a plant of tomato, like tomato plant we are considering. So this is the leaf. Let us just assume that this is the leaf of a plant. So here, so these are the roots which are inside the soil. These are the roots which are inside the soil, and this is the stem which is outside of the soil. So this is a leaf. In this leaf, what happened is on the leaf we have a small holes. Those are called stomata. Not a tomato, this is stomata. So these stomata absorbs carbon dioxide. This stomata absorbs the air towards this on the leaf. Okay, so carbon dioxide absorbed to the leaf, and water and other minerals come from the roots to the leaf. So water and other minerals come to the root, come to the leaf. Where? Here, in the presence of sunlight. So carbon dioxide, that means air, carbon dioxide absorbed, and it had happened at the place of the chloroplast. In the chloroplast, in the leaf itself, the green pigment is called chlorophyll. So in the presence of sunlight, this carbon dioxide and the water mixes together and they form glucose molecules. This is an unbalanced or skeleton equation. This is called. I haven't balanced it here. So carbon dioxide and H2O, when we mix together in the presence of sunlight, they are giving us the starch, or we can say glucose. This is called glucose, C6H12O6, and H2O and oxygen. This is the oxygen is a byproduct where we are inhaling. This oxygen, we as humans, we are inhaling this oxygen, and we are, the percentage is very low of absorption, so that we say carbon dioxide is releasing from our thing, even though oxygen also releasing when we are exhaling. So inhaling and exhaling, we are inhaling the oxygen and expelling the out what we call carbon dioxide. Whereas this carbon dioxide is utilized and inhaled or absorbed by the through stomata by the leaf. There, this complete process is happening. This complete process is also called as photosynthesis. What we are doing is we are exhaling the carbon dioxide, and that carbon dioxide is inhaled by the leaf. That leaf is exhaling. We can consider it as exhaling the oxygen, right? Through stomata itself, the gaseous exchange is happening. This gaseous exchange is happening through the stomata only. So this is exhaling. We can consider it as exhaling, right? So the byproduct is oxygen. We are inhaling the byproduct or the exhaling material of the leaf. In this means there is nothing in this universe is waste. Nothing in this universe is waste. So even the defecations of the people are also used for the bacteria or some other protozoas. Those are called as parasitic nutrition and saprophytes. And the saprophytes are depends on the defecations of the humans and animals as well. So nothing in this universe is waste. So why we call it as photosynthesis? So synthesis means making. So synthesis means making a food is preparing. So photo means in the presence of sunlight. Photo means light. Photo means the light. So in the presence of sunlight, we are doing it as, so it is called as photosynthesis. Photosynthesis. Okay. Even let us come to the chemistry ones. So these two things are called reactants. These two things are called reactants, and they gives us are producing, as they are producing, those produced products are called as, those produced products are called as products. As they are reactant, these are called reactants. As they are produced, these are called products. This is gives rise to. So here we have to balance the equation. How we are going to balance the equation? To know that the balancing of the equation and how the reactions are forming the bonds with other atoms or other molecules. This is all about the chemistry again. From biology to chemistry we can go. So for example, here carbons and hydrogens are mixed together. When carbon and hydrogen is there, that is called carbohydrates. When they are called carbohydrates, and hydrocarbons also we can say. So these are carbohydrates from the biology. We are entering into the chemistry now. These carbon and hydrogen, the bonds, when the bonds are existing between the carbon and hydrogen, those are called as hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons. Okay. So now let us come to hydrocarbon. How this carbon is going to be mixed. For example, a carbon atom possesses always has four bonds. Always forms four bonds only. That means a carbon has four hands. Let us assume carbon has four hands. It always holds four atoms, right? So for example, if it holds hydrogen molecule, HH holds carbon, holds hydrogen. How many hydrogens are involved here? That means carbon makes bonds, four bonds with four hydrogen carbons, four hydrogen atoms. Carbon forms four bonds with four hydrogens. So these are called hydrocarbons. Depends on the number of carbon atoms and hydrogen atoms, we named it differently, as well as when the carbon atom forms another bond with another carbon atom, and the process is goes on. That means when an atom makes long chain, when the ability of an atom to make a long chain of same similar with a similar atom, it is called a catenation. So the ability is called as catenation ability. When the atom, when an atom forms bonds with another same atom as a long chains, that is called catenation. This carbon has that catenation ability, so this carbon atom possesses the ability to form long chains, so with same carbon atom also. So when the bond between these carbon atoms are differ, we differently name them. So for example, carbon atom, one carbon forms a bond with another carbon atom in three different ways. So these are the three different ways one carbon atom forms bond with another carbon atom. So this is single bond. As there is one single bond, this is called, as there are two bonds, you could able to see two bonds, right? So this is called a double bond. That means these are called in a different manner. These are called triple. So triple bond, these are triple bonds. We name them as we name them alkanes. We name them as alkanes. When a single bond is existed between one carbon and another carbon atom, that is called as alkanes. When two bonds are there, those are called as alkenes. When triple bond is existed between a carbon atom and another carbon atom, those are called as alkynes. Here, in order to remember them, A, E, Y, other major things, A, E, Y, right? If you write them in an alphabetical order, A, E, Y, if you write them in an alphabetical order, the first one is A, the second one is E, the third one is Y. That means A, alkane, always has only the one bond, single bond. If there is a double bond, that means two, remember, those are called alkenes. When they have triple bond, three, alkynes. If you say in a reverse order, alkynes means they should have the triple bond. Alkenes means they should have the double bond. Alkanes means they should have the only single bond. By remembering this AEY order, we could able to remember them without any confusion. Even CnH2n, write this H2n plus 2, CnH2n minus 2. Like, even every formula has a memory technique to do this. How we are doing all these things, and how I could able to say all these chapters means because of the attitude. Let us enter into the English now. Let us enter into the chapter of attitudes. Attitude is altitude into English. When I use the article the before the language, it says that the people who are using the language is. So now the attitude and altitude. The attitude is altitude. This is a. So what is meant by altitude? For example, let us consider this is a mountain. In this mountain, the peak position is called altitude. So the difference between attitude and altitude is only the T. This strike, right? So when we have the right attitude, we could able to reach the high altitudes. When we don't have the right attitude, we fall down. There are many examples, there are many situations we can consider. If you go to Ramayana, the Mr. Rama became Lord Rama because of the right attitude. Mr. Rama became the Lord Rama because of the right attitude. Mr. Ravana has fallen into the evil nature, so because of the wrong attitude. Even in the textbook of 10th class English, there's a chapter for attitude, is altitude, in that they mention the Nick, about the Nick we are going to say. So Nick, let us say about the Nick for a moment. Generally, what we do when we wake up, we just stretch our hands like this, right? When we go on the streets, generally we still, without any purpose, just we strike the pebbles on the road. Just imagine for a moment, just for a moment, if you don't have one hand, how would you feel? If you don't have another hand also, that means if you don't have two hands, both of the hands, how would you feel? Just imagine this. If you don't have a leg, how would you feel? If you don't have both of the legs, how would you feel? That's what happened with this guy. He don't have any limbs. That means he don't have the limbs. That means he don't have any arms and he don't have any legs. He has a small piece of leg thing. He has a small piece of leg kind of thing. He called it as chicken drumstick. With the help of this chicken drumstick, he could able to do many things and he created wonders. So now he became one of the most motivational speakers and one of the most inspirational speakers in the entire world. He's none other than Mick. So how he could able to do? He taught himself to die. He thought to die himself many times. Even in the adversity, he could able to succeed. So his life is an inspiration for us because he decided once upon a time, he decided, I focus on what I do have and I focus on what I can do. That means I do have and I can do, not don't have things, not on don't have things. He says in one line, he says a statement. Let me write the statement on the board. The challenges, the challenges in our life are there to strengthen our convictions. The challenges in our life are there to strengthen our convictions. They are not there to run us over. This is a statement given by the Nick. This is a statement given by Nick. What is he saying? The challenges in our lives are there to strengthen our convictions. Not they are not there to run us over. So by looking at the statement, we can derive the parts of speech also here. The is an article, so challenges is a noun, life is a noun, are is acting as a main verb. There are different kinds of verbs, so this are is a verb here. Strengthen again is a noun, and a verb also, this is a verb as it is involved with 2. 2 plus v1 is the fifth form of the verb. Fifth form of the verb is called 2 and v1. So convictions is a noun, strength is a noun, strengthen is a verb. So we have, there is slightly differences also. When depends on the meaning, depends on the situation, depends on the position, they becomes verb, they becomes nouns. Okay, when we make, for example, convictions, challenges, challenging, playing, for example, play is a verb. We can use this by adding in, we can use this as a noun. So playing is a noun, this is called as gerund. This is called as gerund. When we make a verb into a noun, this is called gerund. Okay, then, so here this is a challenge. Challenges are the noun here. So strengthen is verb, right? This is also verb here, to plus verb, the convictions. Like this, when we divide each and everything, when we know the parts of speech, we could able to mix them and we could able to write them in a proper way. That's called about the grammar. Okay. He authored many books. He authored many books, and he completely focused on this one statement. If you completely memorize this statement, and if you completely repeat this statement, you could always tackle any kind of situation in our life. This statement is saying that the challenges in our lives are there to strengthen our convictions. They are not there to run us over. Here, run us over means, this is the negative word. Negative word. Run over. Run over is a phrasal verb. Run over is a phrasal verb. When we add a preposition to the verb, it becomes a phrasal verb. The meaning completely changes here. Okay, so finally, the attitude and attitude, only the difference is this single mark, right? When we have the right attitude, we can reach up to the high altitudes. Otherwise, we can roam. The example we said is Ramayana, from the Ramayana. If you have the right attitude, we could able to reach attitudes in our life. Mr. Rama became Lord Rama because of his right attitude. So let us come to Ramayana. Let us touch the Ramayana once. For example, Rama and Ravana. So Rama, ఆయనము అంటే ద మూమెంట్ అయనము. సో అయనం అంటే మనకు ఉత్తరాయణము, దక్షిణాయనము అని పిలుస్తాం. అయనము అంటే కదలిక లేదా తిరుగుతూ ఉండడం అని అర్థం. సో ఏది కదులుతుంది ఇక్కడ? రాముడి గురించి కదులుతుంది. మొత్తం స్టోరీ అంతా, కథ అంతా కూడా రాముడి చుట్టూ తిరుగుతుంది కాబట్టి ఇది రామాయణము అయింది. రాముని చుట్టూ తిరుగుతున్నటువంటి కథ కాబట్టి ఇది రామాయణం అయింది. సో అయనం అంటే కదలిక అనుకున్నాం, రామ ప్లస్ అయనము రామాయణం అయింది. సో ఈ రామాయణం ఏం చెప్తుంది అంటే మొత్తం మనకి రాముడి చుట్టూ తిరుగుతుంది కాబట్టి చెప్పుకున్నాము. ఈ రామాయణం నుంచి మనం ఎన్ని నేర్చుకోవచ్చు అంటే మనం సైన్స్లోకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు, ఫిలాసఫీలోకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు, సైకాలజీలోకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు, మోటివేషనల్ స్పీచెస్లోకి వెళ్ళొచ్చు, ఏది కావాలంటే అది రామాయణం మనకి ఇస్తుంది. అందు గురించి నేను ఒక పుస్తకాన్ని రాస్తూ ఉన్నప్పుడు ఆది కావ్యం అనంతబోధ అనేటటువంటి పుస్తకంలో, ఆది కావ్యం అనంతబోధ నేను రాసినటువంటి పుస్తకంలో దీని గురించి స్పష్టంగా మెన్షన్ చేయడం జరిగింది. రామాయణం అనేది మనం ఎలా చూస్తే అలా కనిపిస్తుంది, ఏ కోణంలో చూస్తే ఆ కోణంలో ఆవిష్కృతం చేయగలిగినటువంటిది రామాయణం అని. మీరు సైకలాజికల్ ఆస్పెక్ట్స్గా తీసుకుంటే సైకాలజీ గురించి నేర్పుతుంది, మీరు మెథడాలజీ గురించి నేర్చుకుంటే మెథడాలజీ, ఒక రాజు ఎలా పరిపాలించాలని చూస్తే ఒక రాజు ఎలా పరిపాలించాలి, ఆ ఏరియా మొత్తాన్ని ప్రజలను ఎలా చూడాలి, ఎలా వాళ్ళందరినీ కూడా పోషించాలని చూస్తే కనుక రాజు గురించి చెప్తుంది. అంటే మనకి పాలిటిక్స్ గురించి చెప్తుంది, అలా అంటే రాజకీయం గురించి చెప్తుంది. అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం అసలు ఎలా ఒక తండ్రిగా ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఒక తల్లిగా ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఒక తమ్ముడిగా ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఒక భార్యగా ఎలా ఉండాలి, ఒక భర్తగా ఎలా ఉండాలి అనేది కూడా మనకి రామాయణం అనేది నేర్పిస్తుంది. ఒక గురు శిష్య సంబంధాన్ని కూడా నేర్పుతుంది మనకి. ఎగ్జాంపుల్గా చూద్దాం, విశ్వామిత్రుడు మనకి రాముడిని తీసుకెళ్ళినప్పుడు, వాళ్ళ తండ్రిని అడిగినప్పుడు అనుమతి తీసుకుని రాముడు వెళ్ళిన తర్వాత, అంటే రాముడిని దశరథుడు ఈ విశ్వామిత్రుడికి అప్పచెప్పిన తర్వాత నుంచి మళ్ళీ అక్కడ సీతతో పరిణయం జరిగేంత వరకు, అంటే మళ్ళీ దశరథుడికి అప్పచెప్పేంత వరకు ఇక్కడ ఇద్దరి మధ్యన జరిగినటువంటి సంభాషణను మీరు చూస్తూ ఉంటే ఒక అద్భుతాన్ని మీరు చూడవచ్చు. అదే గురు శిష్య సంబంధం గురించి చెప్తుంది. గురువుతో శిష్యుడు ఎలా ఉండాలి, సో గురువుతో శిష్యుడు ఎలా ఉండాలి, శిష్యుడు ఎలా ప్రవర్తిస్తే గురువు మనకి ఇంకా ఇంకా నేర్పుతాడు అనేదంతా కూడా ఇక్కడ గురు శిష్య సంబంధం గురించి మొత్తాన్ని ఇక్కడ రామాయణం మనకు ఆవిష్కృతం చేస్తుంది. మనం సరిగ్గా కనుక వీళ్ళిద్దరిని కనుక అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే అది ఇక్కడ మనకి రామాయణం ఇచ్చేటటువంటిది. దీని నుంచి ఏమిస్తుంది, ఒక తండ్రి ఎలా ప్రవర్తించాలి, ఒక తండ్రి కొడుకులతో ఎలా ప్రవర్తించాలి, లేదా ఒక పెళ్లి సందర్భంలో ఎలా ప్రవర్తించాలి అనేది కూడా ఇక్కడ ఈ రామాయణం మనకి చాలా చాలా స్పష్టంగా చెప్తుంది. సీతతో పరిణయం జరిగేటప్పుడు సీతను అంటే అక్కడ శివధనస్సును విరిచిన తర్వాత ఎప్పుడైతే దశరథుడు ఈ సీతా పరిణయం గురించి మాట్లాడి చెప్పిన తర్వాత సీతను డైరెక్ట్గా తీసుకున్నాడు రాముడు. అంటే తండ్రి వచ్చిన తర్వాత తండ్రి అనుమతి తీసుకుని ఇక్కడ పరిణయం అనేది జరిగింది. సో అటువంటిది అలాగే ఈ తండ్రి నేను చాలా పెద్ద రాజ్యానికి అధిపతిని, చాలా చక్రవర్తిని కదా అని చెప్పి ఈ తండ్రి ఏమి ఎక్కడ అహంకారాన్ని చూపించినట్టు కూడా కనపడదు, ఇంకా వినయాన్ని అత్యధికంగా చూపించినట్టు కనిపిస్తుంది. సో ఇటువంటి సంఘటనలు ఎన్నో మనకి రామాయణంలో ఆవిష్కృతం అవుతూ ఉంటాయి. ఈ కాండలన్నిటిని మనం జాగ్రత్త ఒక్కొక్క కాండని ఒక్కొక్క అవసరం కోసం మనం చదవచ్చు, లేదా ఒక్కొక్క కాండని ఒక్కొక్క కోణంలో మనం ఆవిష్కృతం చేసుకోవచ్చు. అంత అద్భుతమైనటువంటిది మనకి ఈ రామాయణం. ఈ రామాయణంలోనే మనం ఇంకా చూస్తే యుద్ధకాండ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళినప్పుడు యుద్ధంలో ఎందుకు రావణాసురుడు చంపబడ్డాడు అంటే ఆయన చేసినటువంటి పొరపాటు, దాన్ని మనకి యాటిట్యూడ్, రాంగ్ యాటిట్యూడ్ అని చెప్పుకున్నాం ఆ యుద్ధకాండ. ఈ యుద్ధకాండ చెప్తుంది. అలాగే మనం కిష్కింధకాండకి వెళ్తే మైత్రి గురించి చెప్తుంది, ఎలా స్నేహంగా ఉండాలి, ఎలా ఒకరు ఎలా ప్రవర్తిస్తూ ఉంటే స్నేహం అనేది అలా అలా పెరుగుతూ ఉంటుంది అనేది కూడా మనకి ఈ రామాయణంలో కిష్కింధకాండలో కానీ. అలాగే మీరు ఫిజిక్స్ని చదవాలి అనుకుంటే సుందరకాండ ఫిజిక్స్ని చదవచ్చు. మన కిష్కింధకాండ సుందరకాండ వెళ్ళే ప్రాసెస్లో హనుమంతుడు ఒక పద ఘటన ద్వారా ఒక పర్వతాన్ని ఒక లాంచింగ్ ప్యాడ్లా ఎలా క్రియేట్ చేశాడు, ఒక లాంచింగ్ ప్యాడ్లా క్రియేట్ చేసి యువతలో ఉన్నటువంటి సముద్ర ద్వీపానం అయినటువంటి శ్రీలంకకి ఎలా దాటగలిగాడు, అంత దూరాన్ని ఎలా వెళ్ళగలిగాడు. అంటే మనం మిసైల్స్ ఎలాగైతే ఉపయోగిస్తున్నాం, రాకెట్లు ఎలాగైతే ఉపయోగిస్తున్నాం, ఒక న్యూటన్స్ లాస్ని, సో న్యూటన్స్ లాస్ ఆఫ్ మోషన్లో ఎలాగైతే మనం యాక్షన్ అండ్ రియాక్షన్ గురించి మాట్లాడుతున్నాం, వాటన్నిటి గురించి మీకు రామాయణం కూడా ఆవిష్కరిస్తుంది. సైన్స్ని కూడా మనం రామాయణం కోణంలోంచి చూడవచ్చు. సో సైకలాజికల్గా ఎలా ఉండాలి అనేది కూడా ఇక్కడ చెప్పింది. అలాగే ఇక్కడ సైన్స్ని కూడా ఆస్పెక్ట్ చేస్తుంది. నాట్ ఓన్లీ సైకాలజీ బట్ ఆల్సో దిస్ సైన్స్ ఈజ్ ఆల్సో ఎక్స్ప్లైన్డ్ బై దిస్ రామాయణ. సో ఎలా పదఘటనం ఎలా చేయబడింది, ఇది లాంచింగ్ ప్యాడ్కి ఎలా ఉపయోగపడింది, హనుమంతుడు ఎలా ఎగరగలిగాడు, హనుమంతుడు ఎగురుతూ ఉన్నప్పుడు వచ్చినటువంటి అడ్డంకాలు ఏమున్నాయి, ఒక సురస ఎలా ఇబ్బంది పెట్టింది, లేకపోతే అక్కడ నీడని బేస్ చేసుకుని లాగుతున్నటువంటి దాన్ని మనం చెప్పుకుంటూ ఉంటాం, దానిని ఎలా ఇబ్బంది పెట్టాడు, ఎలా ఎదుర్కొన్నాడు. వీటన్నిటిలోనే మనకు అక్కడ రెండు రకాలు వస్తూ ఉంటాయి. తర్కశాస్త్రం గురించి మనం అద్భుతంగా నేర్చుకోవచ్చు. తర్కశాస్త్రంతో పాటుగా మనం ఇంకేం నేర్చుకోవచ్చు అంటే ఎలా మాట్లాడాలి, ఎవరితో ఎలా మాట్లాడాలి అనేది కూడా ఇక్కడ మాటలు కనుక అబ్జర్వ్ చేస్తే పరిశీలిస్తే మనకు పూర్తిగా అర్థమవుతుంది. మాటలను పరిశీలిస్తే వాక్ చాతుర్యం అలవాటు అవుతుంది. ఆ వాక్ చాతుర్యాన్ని కూడా మనకి నేర్పిస్తుంది రామాయణం. ఇలా తర్కశాస్త్రాన్ని అసలు నేర్పనటువంటి శాస్త్రం అనేది లేదు అని నా ఆలోచన. నేర్పనటువంటి శాస్త్రం ఈ రామాయణంలో లేదు. ప్రతి అంశాన్ని ఈ రామాయణం అనేది టచ్ చేస్తుంది. ప్రతి అంశం గురించి మనకు చెప్తుంది. మనం చూసే విధానాన్ని బట్టి, మనం చూసే ఆలోచన బట్టి, మనం చూసే కోణాన్ని బట్టి అది ఆవిష్కృతం అవుతుంది. ఇది మనం రామాయణం నుంచి నేర్చుకునేది. ఇలా మనం రామాయణం నుంచి నేర్చుకోవాలి అంటే ఇలా ఇన్ని అంశాలను ఎలా నేర్చుకుంటాం, మనం ఇన్ని అంశాలను ఎలా నేర్చుకోగలం, అసలు ఈ అంశాలను అన్నింటిని అంటే ఒక ఫిజిక్స్ని, కెమిస్ట్రీని, బయాలజీని, సోషల్ని, ఇలా ఇన్ని మ్యాథమెటిక్స్ని, ఇన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్లను మనం ఎలా నేర్చుకుంటున్నామంటే కేవలం ఉత్సాహము. ఇక్కడ హనుమంతుడు ఒక మాట చెప్తూ ఉంటాడు మనకి. ఏం మాట చెప్తూ ఉంటాడు హనుమంతుడు అక్కడ సందర్భం బేస్ చేసుకుని అంటే అనిర్వేద మూలం అనిర్వేద పరం సుఖం అనిర్వేదోకి సతతం సర్వార్దేశు ప్రవర్తక. ఇది రామాయణంలో మనకు చెప్పిన అనిర్వేదము అంటే ఆ నిర్వేదము. ఆ నిర్వేదము ఆని విడగొడితే కనుక మనకి నిర్వేదం వచ్చింది. సో నిర్వేదం అంటే ఏమీ చేయలేము అని చెప్పి కుచించుకుని పోవడం. ఆ నిర్వేదము అంటే ఏదైనా నేను సాధించగలను అనేటటువంటి ఉత్సాహం. సో ఎప్పుడైతే ఉత్సాహం ఉందో, ఉత్సాహ శివీర్యస్యం ఒక పద్యం ఉంటుందో మనకి. ఉత్సాహం ఎప్పుడైతే ఉందో మనం ఏదైనా సరే సాధించగలం, ఏదైనా సరే చేయగలం. మనం ఎన్ని కాన్సెప్ట్లు కానీ ఎన్ని కానీ చెయ్యాలి అంటే మనకు ఉండాల్సింది అనిర్వేదము అంటే ఉత్సాహము. ఎప్పుడైతే అనిర్వేదం ఉందో మనం ఏదైనా సాధించవచ్చు. ఇప్పుడు చెప్పినటువంటి కాన్సెప్ట్స్ అన్నీ కూడా 10th క్లాస్ని బేస్ చేసుకుని ఆ 10th క్లాస్లో ఉన్నటువంటి కాన్సెప్ట్స్ని మాత్రమే నేను టచ్ చేయడం జరిగింది. సో ఇవన్నీ కూడా కేవలం ఎలా వచ్చినాయి, ఉత్సాహం ద్వారా వచ్చినవి. దట్ మీన్స్ ఇఫ్ ఎ స్టూడెంట్ కుడ్ ఏబుల్ టు రైట్ ఆల్ ద సబ్జెక్ట్స్ ఇన్ అన్ ఎగ్జామ్, వై కాంట్ ఎ టీచర్ కుడ్ ఏబుల్ టు టీచ్ ఆల్ ద కాన్సెప్ట్స్. ఒక స్టూడెంట్ అన్ని సబ్జెక్టులని రాస్తున్నప్పుడు ఒక టీచర్ ఎందుకు చెప్పకూడదు? బట్ వీ షుడ్ హ్యావ్ ద ఎక్స్పర్టెన్సీ. మేము ఆ ఎక్స్పర్టెన్సీ తోటి ఇక్కడ బేసిక్ కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్తూ, ఆ బేసిక్ కాన్సెప్ట్ అవసరమైన చూడండి, ఇక్కడ డెమో కాబట్టి లేదా జనరల్ వీడియో కాబట్టి నేను ఫాస్ట్గా చదవడం జరిగింది. బట్ వీ టచ్ ద బేసిక్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఇన్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ ఆస్పెక్ట్. ఆఫ్టర్ టచింగ్ ద basic concepts, we teach the context and the concept. Before teaching the concept, we touch the basics again. So after teaching the concepts, we get the conceptual clarity. We give the conceptual clarity. Basics చెప్పిన తర్వాత కాన్సెప్ట్ దగ్గరికి, కాన్సెప్ట్ అయిన తర్వాత కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీ తీసుకొచ్చే విధంగా స్టూడెంట్కి టీచ్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీలో మనం డౌట్స్ క్లారిఫికేషన్ చేస్తాము. ఈ కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీని ఎలా తీసుకొస్తాము మేము అంటే, స్టూడెంట్కి వచ్చినటువంటి డౌట్స్ అన్ని క్లారిఫై చేయడం ద్వారా, అట్ ద సేమ్ టైం వాళ్ళకి డౌట్స్ని మేమే క్రియేట్ చేసి వాళ్ళకి ఏ విధంగా ఎన్ని కోణాల నుంచి ఒక క్వశ్చన్ ఒక ఆన్సర్ని మనం చూడవచ్చు. జస్ట్ ఒక ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్, and the catenation ability గురించి చెప్పినప్పుడు, this is not only about the carbon atom, but this is also for the all the atoms which can able to create long chains of the molecules of the same atom. That is called catenation. ఇక్కడ మార్చుతాం అన్నమాట. సో కార్బన్ గురించి చెప్పిన తర్వాత మళ్ళీ అదర్ ఆటమ్స్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్తాం, అదర్ ఆటమ్స్ గురించి చెప్పిన తర్వాత కార్బన్ దగ్గరికి వస్తూ ఉంటాం. ఇలా మార్చుతూ మార్చుతూ మనం చెప్తూ ఉన్నప్పుడు, వాటిని డిఫరెన్షియేషన్ చేసినప్పుడు ఆటోమేటిక్గా కాన్సెప్ట్ మీద చాలా క్లారిటీ వస్తుంది. ఎప్పుడైతే కాన్సెప్ట్ మీద చాలా క్లారిటీ వచ్చిందో ఒక స్టూడెంట్కి, దే కుడ్ ఏబుల్ టు రైట్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ ఎగ్జామ్, ఆర్ దే కుడ్ ఏబుల్ టు ఆన్సర్ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవ్రీ క్వశ్చన్. సో ఎప్పుడైతే క్వశ్చన్ అన్ని ఆన్సర్ చేస్తారో కాన్సెప్ట్ మీద కంప్లీట్ క్లారిటీ వస్తుంది, కంప్లీట్ గ్రిప్ వస్తుంది. ఇప్పుడు మాత్రం మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం అంటే డౌట్ క్లారిఫికేషన్ కూడా చేస్తూ ఉంటాం. సో డౌట్ క్లారిఫికేషన్ ఎప్పుడైతే చేస్తాం, మీ కాన్సెప్ట్ మీద క్లారిటీ ఇంకొంచెం పెరుగుతుంది. అప్పుడు మేము టెస్ట్ కండక్ట్, ఈ డౌట్ క్లారిఫికేషన్ చేయడానికి, కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీ పెంచడానికి మేము డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ టెస్ట్ను కూడా వాడుతూ ఉంటాం. ఆ డిఫరెంట్ టైప్స్ ఆఫ్ టెస్ట్ ఓరల్గా ఉండొచ్చు, రిటర్న్గా ఉండొచ్చు, లేదా ఒక సందర్భాన్ని బేస్ చేసుకుని కూడా ఉంటాయి. వాటిని తీసుకుని డౌట్ క్లారిఫికేషన్ చేసిన తర్వాత అప్పుడు మనం మేజర్ టెస్ట్లు అనేవి రాయించడం జరుగుతుంది. దిస్ ఇస్ ద ప్రాసెస్ వి ఫాలో ఫ్రమ్, దిస్ ఇస్ ద ప్రాసెస్, మెయిన్ ప్రాసెస్ we are following is the basics, the concepts, conceptual clarity, by creating the doubt clarification, and by conducting the exams, and by conducting the tests. సో ఎప్పుడైతే టెస్ట్ని కండక్ట్ చేసాం, ఆటోమేటిక్గా డౌట్స్ వస్తే, డౌట్స్ వచ్చినప్పుడు మనం క్లారిటీ తీసుకొస్తాం. అక్కడ కూడా ఈ డౌట్స్ని బేస్ చేసుకుని వాడికి ఒకసారి కాన్సెప్ట్ చెప్పాలా, లేకపోతే బేసిక్స్ ఏమైనా బ్రాక్ ఉన్నారో ఒక అవసరమైతే కనుక బేసిక్స్ కూడా చెప్పడం జరుగుతుంది. దిస్ ఈస్ ద సిస్టమ్ వీఆర్ ఫాలోయింగ్ హియర్. By following this, we could able to create wonders, we could able to teach each and everything, we could able to create results as well. ఇది 10th క్లాస్ మీద ఉన్నటువంటి ఎక్స్పర్టెన్సీ. మీరు ఈ ఎక్స్పర్టెన్సీని చూసుకుని మీరు అద్భుతంగా మన యొక్క కాన్సెప్ట్లో కంప్లీట్ సిలబస్ ఆఫ్ కాన్సెప్చువల్ సిలబస్ అనేటటువంటి ఒక మన ప్రోగ్రామ్ ఉంది, కంప్లీట్ సిలబస్. సో కంప్లీట్ కాన్సెప్ట్స్ ఆర్ కంప్లీట్ సిలబస్, ఇలా డిఫరెంట్ ప్రోగ్రామ్స్ ఉన్నాయి మన. వీటిలో ఏదైనా సరే మీరు తీసుకుని అద్భుతంగా మనకి రామాయణం ఆవిష్కృతం చేస్తూ కూడా మనం క్లాసెస్ని కండక్ట్ చేయొచ్చు. సో దిస్ ఈజ్ హౌ వీఆర్ గోయింగ్ టు టేక్ ఈ కంప్లీట్ సిలబస్ అనేటటువంటిది. ఒక టెక్స్ట్ బుక్లో ఉన్నటువంటి సిలబస్ మొత్తాన్ని కంప్లీట్ చేస్తూ, ఈ కంప్లీట్ సిలబస్ అంతటినీ కూడా ఇప్పుడు నేను చెప్పినటువంటి కాన్సెప్చువల్ క్లారిటీని తీసుకొచ్చే విధంగా అవసరమైన చోట్ల బేసిక్స్ని ఉపయోగిస్తూ మనం ఈ క్లాసెస్ని కండక్ట్ చేస్తున్నాం. థ్యాంక్ యూ వెరీ మచ్ వన్స్ అగైన్. దిస్ ఇస్ Samba Siva Rao Ch, స్టడీ స్కిల్స్ ఎక్స్పర్ట్ అండ్ మెమరీ ట్రైనర్. థ్యాంక్ యూ ఈచ్ అండ్ ఎవరీ వన్.